start. So if you want to talk for a sec while I get the link out there.
Sure. I didn't do a thing for this chapter art like I have in the last couple, which I did tell you I was thinking of doing like an American propaganda kind of poster with Miss Militia on it, and I do think that would be cute, but I like more just wanted to do this scene.
Right, yeah.
And I also didn't want to, I don't know, I feel bad because I did like not minimize Gregor's story with his poster, but I just felt like it would have been it could have been like minimizing in some way to just make her a propaganda poster. But it also would have been cute, so I might do it in the future.
There's still time.
There's always time to make Miss Militia the face of America.
Hi, Vale.
Yeah, so I did this painterly style, which isn't super my expertise, but I think it turned out okay. And I was happy. I was especially happy with how her gun turned out because it is a lot more abstract and stuff.
Yeah, I really like how it looks, and like I think part of what makes the effect work really well is like stuff that digital art can do that is possible but not
Much
super
more difficult
realistic.
in
Yeah,
traditional
in
art.
like traditional art, because you're putting layers of gradation in different shapes under like certain layers of the paint only, and you've got some cool options. So is that the end of
Yeah.
yeah, that's the end of that. And
Yeah, I
so
didn't record the whole thing. Here's the finished product. Perfect. Yeah, she is a little chibi. Well, I wasn't
hey
exactly
Greg.
sure how old she was in this scene. I gauged her as like 7-ish.
Yeah, I think 7 or 8
Um,
sounds right.
yeah, she's like definitely very young, but like still has some sort of knowledge and abilities that maybe like a 5 or 6-year-old wouldn't have.
Hey, 2 + 4 × 5 at a LARP event. Can't chat much,
Wow,
but can listen.
LARPing.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
And then
That's
Greg
funny.
says,
Have
"Oh wow,
fun.
good luck at the event." Yeah, good luck. Um, and I kind of wanted to remind people about the audience participation thing for this week. It was to talk a bit about 7.12 and 7.x ending with the same plot beat, and I didn't want to like limit the discussion too much. So like I gave some examples for Vale in the audience participation section, which were did this moment work for you? Do you think it's a good lead into Arc 8? Does it increase or decrease the tension of the moment for you when it happens twice like this? Just like really any take on this that you got. I'm interested. And then yeah. Did you want to talk about the style breakdown, or do you want me to read these sections?
Yeah, you go for it.
Okay. So I was saying I like the thing where the non-English dialogue is in like uh, how do you call them? Like the arrow style brackets. And then they're not in quotation marks. And it even helps encapsulate the moment of the trigger event between two arrows, where like a normal cutoff sentence would probably have quotes on both sides of each sentence fragment or like word fragment. But this style allowed the break where the second arrow doesn't come in until after like an entire page of text. So yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I don't know why, like to me, like I imagined it much more like dreamlike and groggy. I feel like it puts you in the mindset when you're reading the chapter, when the opening lines are like already in a different format, you know, like something funky is going on.
Right, right. And it like double serves because then like he's not awkwardly looking up the Turkish word for walk that maybe they culturally they wouldn't say.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Um
Um,
did you this is kind of your point in the first place. Like these little things. Did you want to talk about these?
um, yes. I don't remember what I said about this. I'm thinking of the scene. Yeah, then the style of the chapter is definitely like more Hannah E. Like her way of thinking is in my opinion like obviously different from Skitter's because it like she like jumps forward and back a lot of the time. She like it seems like she's getting like lost in thought, not in the sense that she's like something happens and then she's just standing there thinking. It just seems like it's in the back of her mind and she's kind of um like going over it and then she'll end up like kind of delving back into her memories over and over and over again as this is happening, which like as much as Taylor like actually gets lost in thought, it's often not like based in her memories and like thinking about how she used to feel about things and how she feels about them now and that kind of stuff.
Right,
So I
right,
feel
yeah.
like that was a pretty big style difference between from our normal kind of writing style.
And then Vale says getting lost in thought is an outcome of trauma. Um
Yeah, it's that PTSD kind of flashbacks kind of thing.
mhm, mhm. Um, we talked about how there's no like little paragraph break pips or anything like there have been in a few of the previous chapters. So
Mhm.
the changing point of view, we weren't sure if that was intentional because it seems like it could have been since you're sliding in and out of the dream or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, but I don't know. It is a little strange.
Yeah, it's just it might have been a style thing. It might have been that he was like not confident in when he was using those yet because I don't think he used them very much in our previous arcs unless there's like a very big scene change, right?
Right,
Um
right. They get used like well, okay, so it was used in a pretty slick way in Arc 7 in the scene where Brian is going to stitch up Taylor's ear and then it
mhm.
uses the pip to switch over like a conversation to conversation like an elliptical edit that would work in TV where they're kind of um not exactly carrying on the conversation, but it seems like it goes from one beat in the conversation to the next beat in the conversation, even though it's in a different, scene.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I think definitely later on in the book he uses the like paragraph breaks much more consistently than he is using them now. So,
Yeah, yeah. Um, and then the audiobook did include what I had thought before I reread the chapter with my eyeballs. I had assumed it had one of those chapter paragraph break markers, but it's a gunshot noise when she shoots the first soldier.
which is
And
very cool. I'm not positive that I mean I must have listened to that chapter at least once because I remember um them pronouncing her name differently, you know, throughout the chapter.
mhm.
That's another thing is that Hannah like changes her name throughout, so you can see like when she's thinking about herself as a kid versus when she's thinking about herself after she moved to America. I guess it's Hannah or something similar before, and then she changes it to like the more Americanized version.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if it's the pronunciation and the spelling, but just for like the sake of ease of like the listeners telling what we're talking about, we'll probably say Hana.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, and then Vale had said something earlier, had posted in the little memes chat, had made a Miss Militia City of Heroes character,
Yeah, love that.
the Magnificent Miss Militia, and then the character description is pretty much a description of Miss Militia's power, and then yeah, I don't know how. It looks like it's a high level. That EXP number is certainly 8 digits long.
Yeah, and the influence number is very
Yeah,
I don't exactly know what this game
it's
is,
9 digits long, so that's quite
yeah.
quite a number.
She does have quite good influence. We'll see. She's very influential over Taylor, which I do love. It's like very funny when they're like in a room together. Taylor just is like, "Oh, that's a person I can trust."
I don't know how I didn't bring it up, but Miss Militia like is the person that Taylor was gonna write her like confession letter to.
Yeah, exactly. Like Taylor just out of the gate kind of trusts Miss Militia, um, even though the only time they've interacted was at this point was after she after they attacked the big party.
Yeah,
And I'm trying to think if Miss Militia did anything. She didn't do anything awesome, you know.
she
She like
barfed.
barfed a lot.
Yeah, that's pretty cool though, right? Barfing. Um,
Yeah, but I think that Taylor, like, I don't know, I think that she just kind of like saw like not that Taylor's like shows a lot of prejudice towards gender or anything, but she does find her a lot um more unassuming um than she addresses Arms Master.
yeah, yeah, but she really don't like Arms Master
You
anymore.
really don't like Arms Master.
Yeah. Vale says it's a maxed out, ultra powerful Miss Militia. So
Love
I'm
it.
assuming those
And
giant looking numbers are really giant. So yeah.
yeah, and you did a lot better with I don't want to like diss any specific artists or anything, but before I do like a new character design, I do often look at like other artists' rendition of that character. And a lot of people made her light-skinned and blonde and with an outfit that I don't think fits her character or really the description. And I was like, what's going on here? Um,
Yeah,
so
sometimes
yeah,
when
I
I
feel
see
like
the pictures of Miss Militia that have been drawn, I my like it's not the first thing I think of. I'm like, who is this?
yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. I was like, I wonder if this is like an OC or something. And no,
Yeah.
but that's all right. I just think Vale, you did a good job on the design.
Yeah. Yeah. Um Vale says, I kept in mind that she deserves to be represented as she is.
Yeah, exactly.
Greg says, I feel like Taylor had a positive view of Arms Master before she actually met him.
Yeah, that's true. She's like, oh, this is so cool. Like this is one of the biggest heroes ever. And then he approaches her and she's like, I hate this guy.
She gets a bad vibe off him from the start, but it's weird because the way that she portrays it to through the chapter, I don't think it fully came across to me that she didn't. I don't know. It still seemed like she was on board with him for the most part at the beginning, but then later she's like, nah, nah, I hate that guy. Like even before he really screws her over or anything.
Yeah. She does change her mind really fast about him, I think. But
Yeah.
I think she just doesn't like she was uncomfortable with his style of communication and stuff, which we do learn in this chapter. Other people have a problem with that too, so nothing really new. People just seem to kind of out of the gate not like his personality.
It's not
Uh,
you I don't like, it's your personality.
Personality. So for themes, we've talked about a lot in our other chapters, escalation of violence. But Hannah's kind of out of the norm because she's like focuses much more on de-escalation. Um, it seems like she really just like wanted her power to address the situation at hand and then like be done with it pretty much.
Yeah, she's one of a handful of triggers that we see that their power directly addresses their problem. Like,
Hmm.
I don't think it's terrible spoilers to say that Purity's trigger event is talked about, and it's said that she got the power to like photosynthesize essentially so that she would not die of starvation. So,
Yeah,
um,
I guess it kind of is like a I guess she technically had like a physical trigger. I guess I'll have to start thinking of that because they talk about the physical and mental triggers, but I just don't
they
think
just
that it's
all seem
accurate to how
mental.
it. Yeah, it just all seems mental. But I would say Miss Militia had a physical trigger. Purity had a physical trigger. I think the way that they represent it in the book is um, just doesn't seem super accurate. And I think that we don't see a lot of bruisers triggers at this point. I'm trying to think of like any.
I can't think of any off the top of my head except Lung, who is a changer.
Yeah, which is like his thing is more in a self identity kind of thing. Um so yeah, I think maybe we'll have to keep our eyes out for that because I think maybe the reason like we see so few physical triggers is because we like are not seeing a lot of those like bruisers
Yeah.
or like
Huh.
the bruisers is more like a symptom of whatever other power they have like lung and like weld, I guess.
Yeah.
We're not going to see a lot of browbeat.
Right. And well, a lot of them there's a trick to it. Like let's say Glory Girl or Browbeat. Both of
Hmm.
them, most of their bruiserness comes from like point blank
Something else.
telekinesis. And
Yeah.
the telekinetic shield for Glory Girl. So they each have like a trick to it that's not like actual strength per se.
Yeah. We'll just have to kind of keep our eye on it. I hadn't thought about Miss Militia being like a physical trigger before because it doesn't sound like how they represent it in the book. And it's like partially emotional, but the emotional thing is just like, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe it was like a body reaction thing where it was her trigger event was focused on like a panic state she was in
mhm.
because she specifically thinks like I couldn't take one step in any direction. There were no actual indications, but I knew, you know.
Yeah.
There was a bit of chatter. Do you wanna? Oh,
Lung def 2 + 4 × 5 says Lung definitely had a physical trigger. Like, I guess. Like he had the trigger and the trigger does the trigger like technically save his life?
yeah, I think he was gonna die from overdosing on the drugs.
Okay.
And then
So
the his power purged them from his system fast enough that he lived.
the bill says the rare power that actually solves the problem are ones where the use of the power reminds them of the time of their trauma, I think.
Hmm. Oh, and you know how else it saved him is that a trigger event can interrupt other powers.
Oh, true.
So
But he doesn't have any kind of what's it called? Any kind of like Trump power or anything. It's like it seems like his power is kind of unrelated to theirs.
I kind of got the impression though that the carrying on the fight thing, like in some way, is responding to other parahumans being there more than just like a bunch of people shooting at him maybe could qualify, but like
Mm-hmm.
his power is reaching out to other powers. I thought.
Ah,
Hmm.
could be.
Anyway, we can. Oh yeah, yeah. We were gonna talk about the compartmentalization though.
Mm-hmm. So, compartmentalization, classic Taylor theme, but it's kind of like a self speculation by Miss Militia. Like she thinks that her certain aspects of herself are like held within her the like actual manifestation of her power. Um, so as far as she states, it's the like childish like the most childish parts of her and the angriest parts of her, which like she doesn't really go into at all. She doesn't say like she doesn't feel those things about herself anymore, and like it's like hard to get her angry, or that she like basically was much more mature after that point. But I feel like that's the implication of it,
Mm-hmm.
is that they're held within that, and that's like a lot of the reason why she's so much more level-headed than everybody around her.
Yeah, and it does seem like a typical cape like mental change that would happen when you
Hmm.
get powers. That like something like this could happen. And I mean like most of those are like all just excuses for something that could happen with like a real trauma, I think. But like there's an in story and power is a reason. So
Yeah, exactly.
so it works on
Uh,
multiple levels, yeah.
Greg says, "I'm not angry. My gun is angry," which is yeah, that's exactly how I think she feels.
Well, I
Which
think the
is very
idea
funny.
is she probably feels like very neutral inside when like doing stuff, and she's not actually like she's doing her best to not actually kill any people, and
Hmm.
it's like the the explosive firepower that's launching the rubber bullets is itself her anger.
Yeah. And we get into that later. Like she's like, I didn't feel bad about those killing those people. I didn't even feel bad about the kid who died. And I'm like, okay. Um, so that could be related. We can get into the overview.
Yeah.
So, Hana, right? Hana lives in a Hidden Valley ranch, living off of um gardens, hunting, and barter. So it's like kind of this tiny village that is a lot more independent than probably um typical civilization like outside of her area. So just a few hours ago, they basically destroyed 7 years worth of peace from a war that is seemingly happening nearby, which I guess is between the Turkish
And Kurdish people.
um and the Kurdish people. Yeah. So she went and hid in her cellar and like was hearing lots of screaming and gunfire. And it's obvious to her that that gunfire can't mean anything good because the people in her town who have guns just don't have the like skills or the know-how to use them. So the more gunfire there is, the more of her people are probably suffering. So an enemy soldier found her and dragged her into a group of 9 other children, and they led them out of town into the woods. And it's kind of clear to her and to us from the state of the town that literally all the adults are dead. Is that the case? They're
Yeah,
just like all
I
gone.
yeah, I think yes.
Yeah.
But she doesn't
So
actually like look at any
yeah,
of
she
it.
doesn't look. She just kind of like looks down.
Because she
But
also makes it clear that she already knows before they even go outside.
yeah. So one of the children, Ashti, leads the way in the woods until she steps on a landmine. And then they move on to the next child, Coven, who kind of leads the way in the woods until his leg falls into this like booby-trapped hole where there's like spikes facing down, so you can fall into it really easily, but they can't get his leg out. So they all know, and the soldiers obviously know that there are all these like traps surrounding their village for hunting and to like protect from the very soldiers who are here now. Um, the kids like try to dig the kid free, but the soldier just like shoots Coven to put an end to it. Honestly, probably for the best. I don't think that was gonna work out. Poor
Yeah.
Coven. Um, these are all like I just think that the like name dropping is important because it's like these are all people that Hana has like some sort of personal relationship with, which just makes it all the worse.
Right, right, yeah.
So she is next up to lead the way. They kind of push her forward with a gun, and he commands her to walk. And that's like one of the like running themes is that every time she stops, they just say walk in like these brackets or whatever. Um, so
It's
she
also
kind
how
of
the chapter
stumbles.
opens, I think. Doesn't it open on the
Yeah,
word walk?
I thought it was a
Yeah.
good opening.
Yeah.
So she struggles through the shrubs and the trees. She's not wearing any shoes and she's like wearing a dress, so she's getting like scraped up and shit. Um, not
Mhm.
ideal. And they keep telling her to go faster. Um, the soldier says something else, but she can't like understand through the language barrier because he's speaking Turkish. Um, but he's like standing back with the other children and the soldiers and he's like waving his gun around. So it's clear to her that he's basically saying like go faster. One of the kids gets it. Um
Right, right, yeah.
so Hana's like looking for clues on the forest floor, like trying to like look for these traps that she might find before she is subjected to them. And in her mind, there's like a lot of repetition in this part of the chapter with the soldier goes walk, walk, walk. And then in her mind, she goes one foot in front of the other over and over and over to herself. Um,
Right, right.
so
It's good. It's good. I was
it's
thinking like
good.
this this section along with a few others show like really like horrifying unpowered violence. I'm thinking of like this I guess I don't want to get into the other ones, but yeah, like this one in particular, it's just like there's no superpowers, no whatever, and then it kind of highlights to the person getting powers like this is already how bad things get.
Mhm.
Um, and like different people have different like levels of experience with that. Like obviously Taylor's trigger event is not good, but I would say that this is on a different level.
This is on a different level. And like that's what we've heard from the book. Like people in like third world countries in like war stricken areas are like way more likely to get powers like because of that. You know, it's
Mm-hmm.
just like really high stress kind of.
Right.
We understand that, you know, like if Hana had been in a more normal situation like Taylor had been in, like she definitely wouldn't have triggered. Like this was like she had to be in like this very, very much more intense situation than a lot of the other people she knows were.
Right. Yeah.
Um So she's like trying to hold back her tears because when there's tears in her eyes, she like can't see as well, and like she knows she needs to be looking for traps. And there's like a certain point where she just comes to a stop and she feels like any direction that I go, I'm going to die. There's like nothing that is actually indicating it. It's just a feeling that she has. And like we're not sure if that's true or not, but like I kind of take her word for
When
it.
I read the book the first time, for whatever reason, I felt sure that she was like right in some way, and that
Yeah.
like she had this like premonition as she was already like about to have her power manifest.
Mhm.
That's just the way that it felt from like her perspective on the event.
It is how it feels. And I wonder if it is something from her power like holding her back, like knowing essentially that it's about to trigger and that that trigger will save her.
Yeah, yeah, because there are other instances of powers like affecting someone before they manifest, like in
Vil
minor
said
ways.
Phil said it's a good thing Hannah wasn't in the same situation as Taylor. She would have Miss Militia rocketed the locker door and died.
Oh my god.
Um, yeah. I mean, she could have used like a chainsaw or something.
Yeah, she
It
can
would have
do any
worked.
weapon.
She can do any weapon. She's awesome. She even does that here where she gets her weapon and she's like, "This isn't what I want," and then it's like, "Fine."
What if she did one of those sci-fi monomolecular blade knives that's only one molecule thick, and she could cut
Don't we
right out of
see
the
that
locker?
literally later this chapter? She's dude, she probably like sees Arms Masters tinkering and is like, "Man, I could have made that."
um.
Um, I
Anyway.
I I wonder if she can only make weapons that she like knew of or had seen before her trigger, or if there's like new things that she can do.
I think for the most part, the way that a trigger event like that would happen is it would probably scan the Earth for like all the existing blueprints that it can find, just like how Taylor's thing scanned for all the existing bugs that it could find.
Hmm.
You know.
That makes sense. So she's at a standstill. The soldier commands her to walk, but she finds it. She just can't do it. And she's like freaking out because she's like, they're gonna start torturing the other kids if I don't move. And he starts to yell at her again, but he is interrupted by something that Hana sees. And I pulled a shortened version of what is our first trigger vision if William wants to read it for us.
Yeah. She saw something vast. It was big in the way that transcended what she could even see or feel. It was as though there were mirror images of it, but each image existed in the same place, some moving differently, and sometimes, very rarely, one image came in contact with something that the others didn't. Each of the images was as real and concrete as the others. It was alive, a living thing. She knew without having to think about it. Each of those echoes was something this living entity was aware of, controlled and moved with intent and purpose. It's dying, she thought. In its wake, flakes and fragments sloughed off of the entity like seeds from an impossibly large dandelion in a steady wind. Seeds more numerous than all the specks of dirt across all of the earth. Um, One of those fragments seemed to grow, getting bigger, larger, looming in her consciousness until it was all she could perceive, falling directly on top of her. And we did
So
cut some portions out of that, but it was to smooth it over and make it read a little faster.
yeah, it essentially has all the same touch points. It's just less long.
Yeah.
Um, but she comes to from this event and the memory is already fading. And it kind of like escapes her mind as she tries to grasp it. And the soldier um yells something else and something she can't understand. And she knows that either she walks forward or somebody else is going to die because of her failure. So she's like, I can do it. I'm brave. And she begins to step forward, but something's like in her way at chest level. It's like this shimmer of black and green crackling, shifting energy in front of her chest. She touches it and she feels it's like warm and it feels comforting to her. And it transforms into her hands into a gun that is identical to one that she has seen her like the local guerrilla fighters use. And she's like, I can't use this. It's gonna be too loud.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess she thinks like if she uses it, like all the other soldiers will automatically respond or whatever. So the energy, like as if in response, it turns back to the black and green energy and settles back down into a gun that actually has a silencer on it. And she kind of whips around and pulls the trigger. Um, let's see. Vale says, the thing I love most about Miss Militia is her thankful perspective. Coming from such a harsh place and turning out a good person means a lot. Less serious question, why on earth isn't Miss Militia using a lightsaber 24/7? Because lightsabers aren't real. They scan the earth, they don't scan television.
In my television program, I can make a total sweet lightsaber.
I bet she can make like a fake lightsaber that like a cosplayer uses that's technically a weapon.
Yeah,
Um,
one of those crazy sling blades from those animes.
um, Greg says, nothing I can put my finger on, not something I can see or touch or feel, but something I can't quite see or touch or feel or put my finger on. She describes it like a friendly dog. Thinking of her power as a friendly dog pleases me greatly. Yeah, I didn't want to say it though, because I don't know. In my mind, it's just she feels it. It gives her like a similar presence, which is really funny. Later we'll see Taylor hold her weapon briefly, and she's like, "Oh my god," because I don't think she describes it as a friendly dog, but like she can feel that it's alive, and it like kind of freaks her out.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I do remember that now. And yeah,
yeah,
it's like upset at being touched.
yeah. I think it's less friendly because it's not hers,
Have you
but
ever read Dark Material? The Dark Material
no.
series? Okay. It kind of seems like similar to their souls are basically manifested into like an animal that can talk that is um uh kind of with them in the world, and like other people can see it and stuff, so it's like a physical
Mhm.
presence, but it is also like kind of their soul. um
Huh.
and so it's like a companion that they live their whole life with. And the weapon thing has a lot of aspects like the demons from Dark Materials.
Hmm. Interesting. Um, Hannah, so yeah, like as soon as she like begins to pull the trigger, she in real time wakes up from her dream. Oh, phew, it was just a dream. None of it was real. And she'd been napping while still in costume, and she kind of remembers the giant being, and that no she knows like everybody else forgot it, and that she's never going to mention it to anyone, which is like funny because later this chapter she like almost is prompted to mention it.
She's like trying to Tumblr code Dragon.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, I like your shoelaces, and
Oh my
Dragon's
god.
like, pardon me, this must be a language barrier.
even
um
even when it does get said and like the second half doesn't get said, I still like want to cringe out of my skin.
It's so funny. Um, so I just think it's like hilarious that she's like, oh, I just know I'll never talk to this about this with anybody. And then she like
Yeah,
almost
that's funny
does
too.
with zero thought later.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but Hannah kind of reflects to herself. She has a suspicion that her weapon is a physical manifestation of different parts of her psyche, which include the most childish parts, the angriest parts, and the parts that dreamed. Hence why she does not need to sleep at all now after receiving powers. Um, she like can choose to sleep if she wants to, and she never calls it sleeping, she calls it like drifting off or resting.
Hmm.
Um, so it might feel like a little bit different to her, like she just like enters into her memories rather than like whatever actual sleeping felt like to her before.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, whenever she does quote unquote rest, she instead of dreaming just sees her memories in perfect detail. And I'm not sure if that's the only memory she sees. It doesn't really say um if it's like always the same memory or if it like cycles through or something.
Yeah, yeah. Um uh it's not, I'm trying to think if there's any indicators kind of one way or the other, and I can't think of any.
I guess
Um
it would make sense that it's the same memory because I think that the entity part is like the most is like the craziest to her. Um,
mhm.
but yeah, she mentions specifically, she's like, I know it's a paradox, but I remember seeing the entity and then I remember forgetting it. Um,
Right.
so she like, I think that like her waking self always remembers that that's a thing that happens when she dreams, but I don't think that she has like a good idea always of what it is.
Right, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So,
I think it's kind of like whatever about her has like perfect encapsulated her memories. The metaphor becoming full literal has also overridden the power of whatever makes them forget the trigger events.
mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Um, Vale says, "What would your soul animals be? Are they like just normal animals?"
they mostly are. They are like an animal, and they kind of can interact. Uh, I can't think of any that are like mythical creatures or anything, but there's like cats and dogs, and like one guy who's like really important to the plot has like a leopard or something. Um,
Oh my gosh, this girl has a ferret. That's so cute.
Someone who's really evil has a golden monkey.
Wow.
I don't
Um,
know. It's hard to say.
yeah, we'll have to think on that one. I'm not the thing is like I feel like a lot of other people have like in their mind an animal that they think that they are, but like I'm not really an animal person, so a lot of the time I'm like, I don't know.
I just
Yeah,
don't really
Vale wants a
think I'm
crow.
like that like or unlike a given animal.
Greg says he feels like he's a burrowing owl. The birds are generally for more studious or detail-oriented folks, but I like digging in and making some place my home. That's cute.
Hmm, yeah.
Um, so Hannah, feels like she regrets. This was weird wording to me because she's like, I regret the deaths, which is like a strange, like, I would not regret that. Does she regret what happened before, or like, what does she regret?
Well, hang on. Let me see that part. I don't remember exactly how that.
I can read the sentence. She says, she regretted the deaths
Yes, that
that
one
went
was
without
insane.
saying, but she didn't feel guilty about it. Of the 10 of them, 7 had made it back because of her and her gift. They had returned to her village, moved the bodies out of sight, and
I
did
think she
what they
just means
could
the
to
three
preserve
of
their
them.
food. Okay,
She
that could be
wishes
it.
she doesn't feel guilty about it, but she wishes she could have gotten her powers at the start.
Yeah. Okay, got it. So she like specifically doesn't feel any guilt about the like she just kind of like shot all of the men and then like went back to the village and like I think shot any other men that were left. There was a kid that was shot during the fight. It's unclear to me if she did accidentally shot him or if somebody else did because she does not say.
Yeah, I was gonna say she doesn't say it, but they're all pointing at her. Unless one of them got like startled and fired when they were just already pointing at a kid.
Or they did it as a threat or something.
Yeah, it just sort of
Um,
seems like the most logical explanation is that she shot one of the other kids by accident because she sprayed them with automatic fire.
yeah, that I think that's what happened. She made the other children promise to never talk about her power. Um, so they kind of as far as it seems like they kind of just stay in the village until the guerrilla fighters return. And then they're like, "Oh shit." I guess. I don't know what they were doing during this time because I guess they had like been evaded or something, so they didn't know about what was happening over here. Um, but they decide to ship the kids off as refugees to the UK. So they're kind of like shipped off one at a time and split up. And Hannah is one of the last to go. But when she gets to the airport, she cannot make it through the metal detector because they actually find a gun on her. um, Bill says, I don't think it has to be that you're an animal, more asking what you would want, I guess. Oh, it's not a silly question, Bill. Sometimes, Bill, you say a joke or something and then we don't get it and you get all like, oh, I'll just keep to myself. We'll keep it on the mind.
Yeah.
Um,
It's just
Greg
like
said,
there's a lot of implications within the whole like setting as well though that aren't necessarily clear if you haven't read it. Like dogs kind of represent that you are like a subservient person by nature because like your personality doesn't settle until you're a teenager and that's when your animal like stops shape shifting and kind of like settles into a thing once you go through
hmm,
puberty and
that's funny.
you kind of become an adult person a little bit and are kind of a certain way rather than just kind of all over the place like kids.
Yeah. Have a more defined and integrated personality.
Mm-hmm. And then Greg says, I mean, I'd love a burrowing owl generally, adorable little murderers. Phil says, oh no, what do a burrowing owl or a crow mean? Um,
Well, I feel like crows would have a lot of implications because of how like they I feel like at least people find them to be really intelligent
like
because they like form bonds and stuff.
the owl thing Greg says has to do with him being like more studious, but I would or digging into someplace, but I would say crow probably in that setting like indicates that you like usually someone would be like a witch or something if they have uh a demon who flies who would like need to soar around.
Hmm.
Um, oh yeah, I guess John Fa has a crow, so you can be like John Fa. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Um, you can turn people into a newt. Yeah, exactly. Um, Hannah tries to bring a gun into the airport, and they're like, "What the fuck? Why do you have a gun?" And she's like,
Bro, the
"I
one
don't know."
rule.
She's like, "I don't know, dude. I'm like 8 or 9 years old."
Well, okay,
And
so hang on. I do want to point out that they don't say how long she's in the UK, but in my
mm,
experience, like people moving from country to country, they can be stuck in each country for like a long time.
mhm,
So she might already be like a tween at this point, for all we know,
yeah.
because she doesn't
Um,
know English super well, even when she's a older teenager.
yeah, she seemingly has. not been getting very much education at all because they say that she like can't do quite a few things. But they confiscate it and like pat her down and they're like, all right, let's try again. But when she goes through the metal detector, she just has the same gun still. Because it's her power. If they take it away from her, it's like the Percy Jackson Riptide or whatever the fuck his name is.
Of
He
course.
has the pen that always returns back to him
Mm-hmm.
because um because he would be too likely to lose a pen, I guess.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm
So
so likely to
someone
lose my
from
pen.
the American military comes and retrieves her and places her with a family um who adopts her, and as soon as the words start up, she ends up joining. Um so back in the present, like stop reminiscing on things so much, Hannah. She oh no, she's thinking again. She thinks to herself that America,
What are
like
these
even
womans doing thinking?
she does have crazy spaghetti brain. Ultimate woman. She thinks that America has this like surreal, like dreamy quality. She like finds the things that everybody complains about to be like so trivial. Just because like in comparison to the things that she experienced, they're complaining about them with like the same level of upset as the people like from her village complained about like the war and death and all of that kind of stuff. But she just kind of like nods along and like plays her part. Um, and it's like it took her a decade to kind of get used to the culture, and even now there's like always something new that she's like supposed to have already known when it pops up. So she just kind of has this sense of like always being kind of behind.
Yeah.
um so she was adopted, and she didn't complain at all when her parents had her change both her first and last names. They changed her first name to the more Americanized version of Hannah.
With an H at
And
the end, even. They're
yeah,
like
Hannah with an
no
H at the
Polish
end.
people.
And then her last name is obviously theirs now. She got like a lot of praise through her teenage years, it seems, for her like discipline in school and in her like wards training. But to her, she's like, dude, this is nothing. Like it's just everything is like so minimalized in comparison to like those couple hours of her life.
Well, because the way she kind of alludes to this but doesn't fully say it, but it's like she keeps turning that on to like be like, none of this matters. I'm like stronger than this by like turning on those memories and activating that as
Mhm.
like a remembrance and a motivator. It seemed like she has an unspoken unhealthy relationship to these memories.
Yeah, it seems like because like this is something that she like really belittles like the people. Well, I don't know if belittle, but she's just like, well, there's like, I've been through worse and like there's people with bigger problems than you. But it's just one of those things where it's like you can't really compare people's like traumas and struggles in the way that she kind of is doing. Um and it's fine that she feels that way, and it's like good that she just keeps it to herself.
Right, right.
Because like personally, I like totally understand where she's coming from, but I feel like it should be clear at this point that just because people haven't been through like as bad of things as her, like she's surrounded by parahumans, like people who had the exact same reaction to what they went through as to what as she had to what she went through. So I feel like it should be more clear that like uh, trauma and like people's like emotional reactions to these events are a lot more subjective than she's making it out to be.
Well, I think importantly, the way that she's coming at it is so diplomatic that even though she doesn't understand their perspective, um, like not to say that it doesn't matter, but uh, she's not letting that be a barrier to
Yeah.
communication in a lot of
Yeah,
ways.
that's yeah, and her relationships and stuff. She does still seem to have like close relationships with people, even though she thinks of them um as like just so different from herself.
Right, yeah. I don't think that it's like a full divide. Um she has close civilian and cape thingies, like her she's got her
Hmm.
parents, her adopted parents, and she's got her like everyone she's worked with, and
Her
a lot of
coworkers.
them are still alive.
Yeah. She she mentions that when she was younger, she like kind of let she would kind of like lean into feeling like nothing after those couple of hours have been real, essentially saying like she died in the forest and like this is all like some sort of like hallucinatory afterlife kind of thing.
This is
um
all some sort of over the garden wall.
yeah, exactly. And so she like kind of even like leaned into that mindset when she was younger, that like none of this is real and stuff, and it like caused problems and her like being kind of like too risky and like putting herself in unnecessary danger, I'm assuming in like parahuman situations.
Yeah. You know what they
So
say though, parahumans are foolhardy.
yeah, they are very foolhardy. But yeah, she's gotten over that to some degree, and when she feels like that creeping up on her, like to me, like this is clear, like she feels dissociative. Which it's like she like just starts to feel like, well, this like environment is so strange and surreal, and like I wonder if it's not even real and all this stuff. And whenever she feels that way, she just sleeps to kind of ground herself, which is interesting because it seems like the starkness of the like memories would make her environment seem even more unrealistic, but I don't know. I guess it works for her.
Yeah. Um
Um,
I was going to say that the way that crap, I lost the thought.
it's okay.
No. Bye.
No. Um, Even with her complaints about everyone's first world problems, Hannah is like, she fucking loves America, which is just so funny to me.
Yeah.
She's like, I hate all these things about it, but it's awesome. She kind of just like tolerates the bad aspects, and she like, but she really leans into what she feels are the good aspects, like the freedom and the hope and all this stuff. It feels very like, American dream. Especially with like the whole like start of the American dream, I feel like being uh not pitched, but like directed towards like immigrants and refugees and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, well, you can
Right.
move
And
to America and you can do anything here.
she's got in a big way like a privileged status where her journey and her integration were facilitated on purpose, in a way
Hmm.
that she would be maybe like, as much as she was encouraged and told to come to America, most people are discouraged that much and like told not to come.
Yeah.
So,
Um, she like fully kind of assimilates herself. Like she like allows herself to get close to the people around her. And she is seemingly like close with her adoptive parents, and she like joins their church and all of that stuff. And we kind of had a discussion about this last week, like her idea of like faith and God, in my opinion, like she probably like she did like have like some basis for that originally, but I do feel like she just kind of moved it over to like the American version of Christianity. Um,
Right,
but
right.
how she phrases it, like she says, like talking with other believers and things like that, she sees them as the same in my opinion.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's unclear if she like has converted to becoming a Christian or whatever, but like either
Mhm.
way, it says she's grown close to the parents' church, and like so she's in some way integrated in that, group.
Um, yeah, and she actually believes that I don't know if she says this directly, but I think that what she's implying is that the vision she saw of the entity is of God, and that she was gifted with her power so that she could be empowered to save herself. But she kind of, it sounds like she like brought that up with people before and they were uncomfortable with that notion, like the other Christians that she's around. And so she kind of just keeps it on the DL that that's what she believes.
Right, right, yeah.
um, and she and it almost feels like she has to think that her power came from God and that's what the entity was, because she's like really uncomfortable with the thought that the thing that she saw could be anything other than that, like anything other than benign and good inherently,
Right,
because
yeah.
the fact that it could be malicious, or the fact that it could be not like intelligent or just an observer, makes her really uncomfortable.
Yeah. Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so back in the present, for real this time, thank God, Hannah enters Arms Master's combo workshop and office. And she like starts teasing him for not sleeping. Um, but she's like greeted by Dragon, who she didn't realize was on like a FaceTime call with Colin. She's just like in her, she has her like computer generated face and her computer generated voice, not generated, but obstructed voice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So apparently they've been up all
Hidden.
night hanging out or something.
Yeah. Just hanging out, bro.
Just hanging out,
Don't worry
nothing
about it.
weird, nothing flirty. So Dragon asks Hannah if she had trouble sleeping, and Hannah lets her know she actually doesn't sleep since getting her powers. And Dragon's like, "Oh yeah, me too." And Hannah says, "Do you remember?" Which is just so funny. Okay, Hannah. Um, and Dragon's like, "Pardon me?" And Hannah's like, "Okay, like she would have reacted differently if she like had like memories of the entity like I do."
She
So
knew,
she
she'd fucking know.
yeah, if she knew, if you know, you know. So she moves on from that. And Dragon's probably like, "Okay, that was weird." Um So Colin says that he and Dragon were working on a project as a form of procrastination, and that it might be a success. So he like holds up his halberd and presses a button, and he just kind of like gently touches it to a suit of armor, and it like like passes through with absolutely no resistance. Super lightsabery, I guess. Um,
Total lifesaver.
so it's that thing that William mentioned earlier. It's like cutting it like at the atom level, right?
Yeah, this is a more complicated version of what I was talking about. In a lot of the older sci-fi stuff, there was just like swords where like the blade of the sword was only like 1 atom thick, so they could slice through stuff with the sharpest blade that
Mm.
ever sharped. Um,
Yeah, it's just a really, really sharp knife. And they've been up all night working on this. And he lets her know, like, well, it's not perfect. It's like vulnerable to force fields and other like intense energies, and it also unfortunately takes up too much room in his halberd, so he's gonna have to like like knock out or downsize some of the other aspects that he has. Um, and Hannah's like, well, what are you guys procrastinating on? Um, apparently Pigot has decided that the teams need some restructuring, because she's a bitch. So they're going to be losing Aegis from the wards, and in return, they're going to be getting this boy named Weld from Boston, who we learn is actually a case 53 with a good reputation, which is very rare. Because people are bigoted.
Yeah, I had
So,
I have to say before I forget the stupid Pigo Miss Militia fan art we saw this week. It was
oh,
glorious,
we did see multiple, and by multiple I mean two, but that
and
was
one
still
really good
too
one
many.
though.
One was really good, like the art was really, really good, but I hated it. Um, Johnny Mnemonic,
That
a
has the
really,
sword, I
really
think.
subtle knife.
And
That's
subtle
funny.
knife is the object from the dark materials that can cut through anything.
Wow,
Anything.
subtle knife. Um, So, oh man, the Pico. I don't know if it was SFW. I can't really remember, so we'll have
It
to see if we
basically
can try.
was.
It
They were
basically
kissing.
was. It just made it, it felt inappropriate to me because I guess there's not as big
It
of an
was
age
too
gap as I'm
real.
thinking. Pago's probably in her 40s, right? And Hannah's in her 30s.
I think they're realistically about the same age.
Okay.
Because Hannah, I would say, is like, let's say like 26 plus 8, that's like 32.
Yeah.
Pigot might have been in her like mid 20s, and then so maybe Pigot's in her like older 30s, but I don't even think she's 40.
Wow. Okay. There's a lot of young people in this, but like even the people who are like these are the old ones are like not old, so it always like throws me off.
Well, one of the ways I was gonna frame it was that, like earlier, that I kind of changed it. I was gonna say she's super old for a parahuman, and I kind of maybe will say that because, like, she's in her 30s, like Hannah is, and most of them are not alive in
Most of
their
them
30s.
do not make it to their 30s.
Yeah,
It's like her and Arms Master and
and then there's,
Triumph and the big three.
the one I was thinking of, was,
Not Triumph.
yeah.
Cavalier.
Chevalier, yeah. Well, the
Cavalier.
one I was thinking of is the Dallin parents,
True.
but you know, what are you gonna do? Eventually, you'll all get got.
Eventually you'll all die.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So what else? What else? They're getting weld, and they're supposed to actually pick two other wards to transfer out. So they kind of like all hash it out a little bit. And then Miss Militia, because she's a genius, she's like, listen, we're gonna get rid of Kid Win because we don't like Kid Win, and then we'll pitch Shadow Stalker, and Pigot's probably gonna have a problem with it, and then we'll pitch Browbeat, and that makes it harder for her to say no because she just said no to Shadow Stalker, and then she has like a plan C and a plan D, and Colin's like, oh, you've always been better at this than me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he follows that up with a congratulations. Um,
Congratulations. Yeah.
Congratulations, bitch. It turns out Miss Militia is being promoted to the head of the team. And she's like, oh my God, that's so great. What are you getting promoted to? And he's like, So Colin is being demoted to a not team leader. I don't know what they call those. Just like normal, a team member. Um and he's going to be relocating to Chicago. And Colin knows. I feel like this is accurate. That the problem is he's no good at people. He's not good at the people part of his job, which like he literally needs to be because he's supposed to be a leader.
Hmm.
So I do agree with the decision. I think if he had the right team, he could be a really good leader, but
And
like
yeah, and the thing is, like, we'll see him kind of in his arc stepping back from leadership positions unless he's in these like super specific teams of people who are willing to like do whatever he's like saying at the, you know what I'm saying? So he kind of
yeah,
like
he
does that. He steps out of the way.
yeah. Um he really needs people to like be on the same like crazy level as him.
Yeah,
Um
they need to be hardcore if he's going to be leading them because he's hardcore as fuck.
yeah, he's too hardcore, in fact. So much so that he got demoted. So Hannah's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." And he's like, "Shut up." And he changes the topic. Well, he doesn't say shut up. He's like, "It's fine."
Yeah.
Um, Sigma says Kidwin is truly the Rodney Dangerfield of parahumans. Kidwin is literally Jason Funderburker from Over the Garden Wall.
Oh my god. You're so mean to Kid Win.
Um, it's just so funny to be mean to Kidwin because everyone else, like in story, everybody is mean to Kidwin. They like don't even worry about losing him in any way, which is so funny because he's a tinker and they're losing two tinkers. Like they won't have any tinkers left on the team.
Yeah, it's true. I didn't even think
They
of that.
you kind of need one of them, either him or Armsman.
Yeah.
Um, I guess when you're on a one of these teams though, they still get like a lot of good stuff from like the other tinkers that they hire and buy stuff from, and like all of the things that Dragon designs for laymen to be able to make.
Maybe they'd be trading for, because they're getting Weld, but also somebody else. So maybe they'd be trading for another Tinker.
That would be good.
Yeah.
Um, so Dragon and Colin start talking about Tinker things, S-class threats, boring stuff. This is so funny that they're like, anyways, here's the third part of the conversation. You know what I mean? Like they have the like unimportant first part of the conversation, the important second part of the conversation, and then the third part is definitely the most important, but like it just doesn't come up till now.
Yeah, they bury the lead.
He's like, oh, I don't want to deal with this until I tell Hannah that she's in charge.
Yeah.
um so they're like in their tinker talking and Hannah's like, in English please. um so Colin rambles on and Hannah realizes from what he's saying that one of the Endbringers is coming to town. Oh my gosh. So Dragon and Colin have been like working
One
on
of
some shit
Lisa's
to like
old gang.
one of Elise's old gang members. They've been like working on stuff um, to like identify patterns and stuff, and it seems like the pattern has come to fruition. And somebody new's coming to town. So Colin goes and like just hits this switch that he has on his wall, which is so funny. And it triggers the air raid
Turn on the
sirens.
airhead sirens. Yeah.
He at the like last beat of the story, he looks to Hannah and she sees something that worries her, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. um a good way to end the chapter. Why is he hopeful? That's not good.
Hmm. Hmm.
Hmm.
We thought the last cliffhanger was a cliffhanger, but this is the same cliffhanger, but even more.
Yeah, but even more. Vale
Yeah.
says topic 1, not sleepy. Topic 2, lost my job. Final topic, hey look, Endbringer is here. Yeah, like they've just been
Just
for
shooting the
somebody
shit.
who's supposed to be extremely efficient.
Well, the more ladies are
Not
around, the less efficient he becomes.
yeah, that might be the case.
Um, yeah. So this is I think this one's a really good one. It's not like by any means the longest. It's about 2/3 as long as the page canary chapter.
I always love seeing triggers, not especially the trigger visions. The trigger
Mhm.
visions, I'm like, ugh, there's this like huge blurb of text that I'm not going to understand until the fourth read through. Um, but like the actual like triggers, I always feel like are so interesting. I feel like Wildbow is really good at stepping into other people's perspectives to like think about what would actually be like a huge problem in their life and what would actually be, traumatic and stuff. He doesn't just go with like, oh, like I'm in danger, or somebody around me died, or like I'm being robbed. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
there's always more to
there's a
it.
lot of there's a lot of diversity. This is one that it's like very clear that this is like very clear to anybody who reads this, like, yes, this is trauma.
Right.
um but then there's other stuff like we'll get into it later, but I really like and appreciate like Perian's trigger that she has.
Yeah, I was gonna
um
bring that one up. It's like Perion's trigger is like five things at once, you know?
Yeah, like she's just like having a really bad time at college, and then somebody like spreads rumors about her and is mean to her, and she ends up triggering. And I just think that's like obviously something that like anybody could go through and come out with like really different results.
Yeah.
So I just like seeing them.
It's good. It's good. Um, and then yeah. As far as the other things, I guess we'll just get into the characters. I don't have that much more to say about the chapters that we won't say in the next couple sections.
Okay.
So, another great like arc ending interlude, like bunch of bangers in a row.
Yeah, loved it. Vale says if you can visually model tesseracts in a galactic-sized fractal pattern, trigger visions are easy. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Exactly.
I can sort of visually um like think about what it looks like and stuff, but like I'm always somebody who's like, "Oh, get this nonsense out of my plot. I want to see the characters." Which like I try to I'm better about like, a couple times around, but
Yeah,
I
I
tend
feel like
to
I feel like you kind of start that way, but like the more times that you have reread this stuff, you have like been much more interested in the minutia in the fights than it seemed like on the first time, at least.
yeah, exactly. I just have to get used to things before I can be like fully comfortable. Like I really like need to like reread, rewatch, re-listen to like media and stuff to like actually get its full worth, which is it's an advantage and a disadvantage. I like rewatching stuff, so
Yeah, and I know that it you had had sort of an experience where you started Worm, you read about to arc 20 right before the time skip. That's right. There's a time
exactly. And
skip
you were
somewhere.
like, "Oh my God."
And it drove me crazy. And then you
And then I
eventually,
restarted it
yeah,
with
you restarted, and then
my partner, so like consuming it much more slowly and stuff. And so this is my third time around for this specific portion of the story.
I feel like the slower down pace also probably helped. Like you were on your second reread and you were like digesting it in smaller portions.
Yeah, for sure.
So and
Vale says, I read first time and finished it by taking days off of work, non-stop reading all day till I was done. Then I was so surprised how much I loved it. I immediately reread slower. That's funny that you took days off of work and then you were surprised how much you loved it. The second reread, it was a different story. Yeah, it's just like I can once I get like a good comfortable feel about the like basic plot and the characters, it's much easier for me to focus on these other aspects of the story that are not exactly um my not my like exact cup of tea or not my exact interests, you know what I mean?
Right. And I think Worm
Um,
is really rich on a reread anyway for like understanding the setting better. But I
uh-huh.
was gonna say like I feel like one of the things that Ward does really well is that it like has even more reread value than Worm does. So
Mhm.
yeah, glorious. Um,
All right, let's talk about Hannah. Miss Militia. This is like our first good look at her, really. All we know is she's like a goody two shoes that Taylor seems inclined to trust. We like learned her entire backstory here, so that's awesome. I always feel a little left out when we get somebody's interlude, but like we don't get to like hear most of their backstory. I'm like, come on.
yeah, like in I feel like
Well,
in
Tattletales is coming up, and we don't hear a lot of that.
yeah, that's one where I felt kind of like and yeah, we'll talk about it when it happens. But both of us kind of feel that interlude's a little unsatisfying.
hmm
But mhm.
Hannah's a little bit like reserved emotionally. I feel like she doesn't really hold back her emotions. I just think that they are not as available to her because of the like high that she's been at, um which comes at an advantage in like conflict resolution, which there's a lot of conflict around her, but could be like more of a problem with like personal relationships and actually feeling like connected with others and stuff.
Mhm.
um she has like really defined ideas about exactly how her power works and where it comes from, which is like partially based in faith. And I somewhat trust her, trust her understanding of her power, like being a separate portion of her psyche that is like now separated from her, and like technically available to her if she wants to access it,
Yeah.
but it seems like she only accesses the dream portion. um yeah, it's interesting she just comes up with like these ideas and she's like, that's probably right.
Well, the
It's like
thing
this
is,
like crazy studied nuanced topic, but you know, it's like her personal experience with it too.
yeah, I was gonna say one of the things about this topic generally is that I feel like some of the characters you can read their like thoughts on a topic and be like, I think they're wrong about this, and like it makes sense why
Yeah.
they would think that, but I think they're wrong. And this one, for whatever reason, I agree with you. Feels like I think she's right about this.
Yeah, I think she's right.
Yeah.
Something else quirky about her is she seems to have had since being a small child, like she had an impeccable memory, which might be like why it like manifested into her power as a side effect. Like she remembers crazy stuff. She's like, this is a silencer. I know this because a couple of years ago some boy showed me one when he was trying to like get on my good side so he could get with my sister. And I'm like, okay, Hannah.
Yeah.
um she just does like a lot of like recalling really specific things. She understands the Turkish language even though she doesn't speak Turkish. She like remembers all the kids and like certain aspects of them. She names the kid who falls in the hole she mentions is has like either bullied or teased her in
Yeah, bullied
school.
her.
It's not
Yeah.
really clear. Yeah, it's not really clear like the severity. Obviously, um her feelings were that for that were overcome by him falling into a hole and getting his leg ripped off because she did try to save him. Um, we
Hmm.
we know that because she like talks about how she has dirt on her hands and face or whatever from trying to dig him out.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so I just think that's interesting. She's got like a really good memory, and it seems to be like she really like lives and lets herself delve into the past, and it doesn't seem to affect her too extremely emotionally.
Right.
Like
When I
she's not
said
like getting triggered and going back to that. She's just thinking about it.
Yeah, when I said earlier that she has like a weird kind of negative relationship, I don't think that she has like a terrible, like the worst ever relationship to her like memories and stuff. It's just that like
Yeah.
she has this fixation where she centers herself by thinking about the worst moment in her life. So she like will just keep going back to that well forever.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how she views other people too and their problems. She's like, well, school isn't hard because I had this event happen to me, and these people's problems are so silly and illegitimate because I had this thing happen to me, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like she might not be able to like fully engross herself into like the present and like the current situation she's in. She doesn't really need to be in this mode of recollecting like the worst moment of her life all the time.
Right, yeah.
Um Vale says, duh, 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 duh. My first read, I was go Taylor. Second was wait a second, Taylor is a mess. You're so mean. Taylor's not a mess. Everything Taylor does is Taylor did nothing wrong. That's all I'm saying.
Taylor's tens across the board.
This is my third read, and I'm still like, go Taylor. um, Phil says, and I agree about Ward. Ward is just freaking brilliant. My side book club is on arc 13 now. It's so good. Close reading it. Okay, well, don't spoil anything because I'm on arc. What arc am I on? Like 7?
Ironically, you're at the end of arc 7-ish. I think you are
Yes.
right before the last
Well, arc 7 is
chapter.
extremely long, so I don't think I'm at the end yet.
Right, yeah. Well, it has that sort of hidden aspect to it, so
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um
I feel bad because I'm so much more critical of Victoria in Ward, but it's just because she makes a lot of decisions. Like Taylor just makes more decisions that like I would also have made. I don't necessarily think they're good, but like to me there's kind of a blind spot there.
I wouldn't necessarily like do the things that Victoria does, but I think she's relatable in other ways. It's especially easy to describe later in the book when she's sort of having a bad time.
Yeah. It's just easier to dunk on Victoria because she's not like so like cape crazy as Taylor.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, Vic has a rigid code. Taylor's not. Yeah, exactly. Um, okay, I don't have anything else to say about Hannah unless you do.
No. We can move on.
She's like a true blue. I don't think they've said this yet, but they like sometimes will call people like true blue capes or whatever, and that's what she is.
Yeah.
She's just like
She's legit.
she yeah, she's like a good person. She follows the law, but I feel like she will finagle and break things if she thinks that's like best for the situation.
Yeah. And I did want to point out that she got her power only 3 years after Scion's arrival, and
Hmm.
given the remoteness of where she lived, there's a possibility that she didn't even know about superpowers before she got hers.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, which is probably why she doesn't like call her power the entire chapter actually, I think. She calls it her gift. Um
Right, yeah.
it's like she thinks of it in a very different way than other people do.
Hmm. So Colin, the only character in this chapter who has to sleep, didn't sleep.
Mhm. He did not sleep last night because he's got so much going on. He got a demotion. He made a new invention. There's an X-Bringer coming to town. That would have been the perfect time to sleep. He
Plus
would
his
have been
halberd
like,
got busted like how many, like 2 nights ago?
yeah.
So
He should have slept last night because he had an important day ahead of him, in my opinion.
yeah, he messed
Um,
this one up a little bit.
we learn that he knows he's not good with people, and with politics and with like playing the like system, dealing with the bureaucracy and stuff, that kind of aspect of his. Um, it's like not even things he wouldn't have to deal with if he wasn't leader, but there's just like too much attention on him when he makes mistakes, I think, which is why they're taking him out of this position. Is that like the media problem, you know what I mean?
Right, I get what you're saying.
Um he he seems to have like a good relationship with Hannah. Like actually he has a good relationship with Hannah and Dragon. Like Hannah comes in and she like immediately starts joking with him, even though he's like kind of has like these uptight reactions or whatever. Like they seem really comfortable with each other. Um,
I get the
so
impression that
yeah,
he doesn't have like a super good relationship with the younger members. Like they sort of see him as just more of a boss, and then like he has a
yeah.
bad relationship with Dauntless, and uh then with Hannah and like anyone who's been on the Protectorate for a long time, he actually does have a good relationship with.
Yeah, he might just be one of those. He feels like a Mr. Darcy character a lot to me, where he's like everybody thinks he's a piece of shit until they've like known him for a long time, and then he's like a really good and loyal friend to them.
Right, yeah.
Um, yeah, so I think he's just kind of got that kind of personality type going on where you really got it. He's got to warm up to people, and they have to warm up with him.
Hmm.
Um, he and Dragon seem to do like a lot of tinker work and stuff together, which is cool, I guess, because Dragon is the most powerful and like influential and best tinker ever. So I found it really funny. Like the first time I read this, I was like, why the fuck is Dragon like hanging out with him?
Why is Dragon hanging around, licking her lips?
Yeah, it just like really threw me off. I was like, "Oh, I guess she's like more involved with like other tinkers than I originally thought." And I don't know if that's true. Like I literally don't know if she's just like more friends with Colin or if she like does this with a lot of the tinkers in the Protectorate.
I think it's like a little column A, little column B. I think she does work closely with all of them, but I think that she has her eye on Colin for a long time.
That's funny. Um they um I don't know. I was really like I feel like I was really shocked when I learned that we learned from Dragon. She's like, I think Colin has a crush on me or whatever. And I was like, oh, does he? Because like I don't see that at all in this chapter. It just seems like they hang out a lot. Um, but there's no like weird energy or anything, except that Hannah is like she's like, oh, Dragon's here when she like enters the room.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
Vale says Dragon has a huge crush on Colin, though. Yeah, but Dragon doesn't know that. She's like studying her relationship with him, which might be why she hangs out with him more.
Well, but the other thing is that like maybe she like picked up on stuff, that's not presented here, but maybe like she is projecting like her own stuff too of like doesn't know she has a crush, but is like, well, he does on me, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah, exactly. That could be it. Um, maybe they're both like that. Where they're like, well, I can handle. They have a crush on me, but I can still be friends with them or whatever, and then they both just end up.
Yeah.
Um, He also has a big air raid siren button in his office, which is hilarious.
Yes, that is great. He's got the button right there. It's funnier to imagine he doesn't even have to lift up a glass case. He just like mashes his
Yeah, it's just
fist
like
down on the
right
button.
there. I just think it's hilarious that it's a glass case and it's not even a break. Like it's not even a break if for emergency because they didn't use the air raid sirens for the Bakita bombing, right? Which
Hmm.
implies that they only use it for Endbringer.
I think they probably should have used it for the bomb that they talked about at the end of the bombing campaign, but then when I thought about it more I was like, but if it did go off, could they even get away? Um
Yeah.
and then
Uh,
when I thought of this, I like the first time I read it, I was like, oh, okay, come on. But then, after I, understand the situation more, I'm like, okay, that's fair.
Vale said, "Good thing it isn't the air raid siren foot pedal under his desk." Yeah. I don't think I have anything else to say about Colin's personality, unless you do.
No, I think
Um,
that's all good.
yeah. I don't think we really learn anything about his power. He just like says,
Well, we learned about the nanothorn, and I did want to point out it's not just like a thin blade, I don't think. I think the nanothorn, when it like extends from the halberd, is kind of like a hard to define three-dimensional area around it, and I only say hard to define because it's like you can't see the edges per se.
uh,
Um,
yeah, it seems like it extended out and like when he hit the armor, it like took more of a chunk out of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
yeah.
you can talk about Dragon. We
Yeah.
love Dragon here.
Yeah, we love dragon. We're a dragon multi-household.
Dragon Diesel.
Oh shit. She's a mysterious Canadian. Has some sort of unheard of accent, as we learned in the page chapter.
hmm
Um, and then
And again, she's functioning remotely, which like I
mhm,
think that her first appearance, it made it seem like she was remote because
of the
she was at the
prison.
prison or whatever, but like that just seems to be her MO.
Mhm. I wrote here that she always scopes your bio and reads your personal texts. She makes Tattletale look like a person with a healthy boundaries. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's funny is that like I don't think anybody cares that Dragon like knows everything about them except for Pago. I think it makes her uncomfortable later. Um,
Yeah,
doesn't she have like
Pago doesn't like it.
Pago doesn't like it?
But that's kind of, I mean, she's kind of not wrong in what she's saying, but also the reason she actually doesn't like it has a lot more to do with her than even the situation. You know what I mean? Cause Pigo. Oh my garb. Vic's mic dropped out or something. Cause 1 sec is happening. But yeah, for Dragon, she she will like just learn everything about you, and they're fine with it because they're like, this nerd, I can't believe this dumb nerd.
Yeah, I think she's really just like likable. Like everybody just likes her and she's like also really good at her job. And I don't know, they just don't really care that she's like all up in their business.
Yeah, I think they just sort of, a lot of the capes can just sort of accept that their life is just never going to be normal.
Yeah.
It's always going to be weird and
Um
fucked up.
yeah, I love Dragon. That's
Y-
all. I just like will mention it every time because I think about the Scott reaction from We've Got Worm and he just fucking hates Dragon for
and
like
yeah, there's a whole
even
faction of people who because later on, Scott is on board with Dragon and also loves Dragon, but there's a whole faction of people who are like, Saint was right, like unironically, like Saint was right to have turned off Dragon because AI, and it's just like,
yeah.
did you read the same book I read?
I don't know. It's like a crazy reaction. Oh, Dragon also, we learned that she doesn't sleep. That was the other thing. So she's always watching you, dude. There's
Yeah.
no safety from her. But that's okay, because she's my best friend.
She is one of the many characters that Taylor and or Vic self-insert is going to kiss.
Yeah. I was gonna say too, this isn't spoilies, but I'll bring it up anyways because this is our first Colin and Dragon interaction. But Dragon gets like less and less boundaries with Colin as the story goes on, and it just makes me laugh. Like she's like, "Does it bother you that I read everything you write and do all this stuff and watch you all the time?" And he's like, "Not really." And it's not like because he likes her, he just like doesn't care, and I just think that's really funny.
Yeah. Um and you know what? Boundaries with capes is like a weird thing. We'll see that with like a legend scene in this book, and like that's another
Mhm.
Pigos, like from the same chapter you were talking about with Pigo, like thinking about the dragon thing. She's
Yeah.
like, Legend has no fucking boundaries. He just looks at me through the window rather than walking in the
Yeah,
office door.
I think it's hard to have boundaries like because like
Once you've
normal
been a super
societal
god person.
boundaries, yeah, normal societal boundaries are based off of like an able-bodied, able-minded like idea of like pretty much most people are like at the same level in those areas. So
Hmm.
when you change it up, I think it just kind of like disrupts the status quo in a way that they as like the powered person they just like can't see as easily.
Yeah.
I guess it would be like the equivalent is like how like some like abled people like don't know how to treat like disabled people because it's just like they just like don't know. So like a lot of the time they can like fuck up boundaries and like make like mistakes that is like clear to the disabled person that they should not have done. It's just not clear. I think when you're like in the advantageous spot, it's a lot harder to see like in the disadvantaged spot.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay, well, I guess let's jump down to the powers, knowledge, and world building section. Um, First, we learn a lot about trigger events. Um, we see the first trigger vision that we've ever seen. It's a whole thing. There's a
Hmm.
it's a whole thing. Um,
Whole thing.
it
You
was
know what's funny?
alive, a
You know
living
what's funny
thing.
about
Hmm.
the whole thing too is that like we said like there's like aspects of people's stories that you just like inherently trust and aspects that you just inherently don't trust. Like I trust everything she said about her own power, but I don't trust the fact that this big thing is like God in this scenario, which
Right,
is
yeah.
kind of interesting because I had even like forgotten that that was her mindset. I had just totally forgotten that. Um I guess because it never comes up again.
Right. Yeah, and she never well cuz she never verbalizes it to anyone else. She even thinks about how
Mhm.
she won't tell anybody else.
Yeah. But it just like I read that and I'm like, all right, like that is just her understanding of what happened and it's clear to me that that is not the like in story truth.
Right, and there's other stuff where you're like, I do buy that she sees her memories perfectly, even though that's not how it would normally happen, and that most people
Yeah.
think that all the time, but I think that she literally does.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of interesting. Like I wonder if it's like our predispositions um as to what like we just inherently believe or don't believe, or if like Wildbow kind of like writes those ideas differently in a way that we can like subconsciously pick up.
Yeah, we'll try and like focus on it in other chapters where there are like people who we think are lying to themselves or
Hmm.
people who have like really skewed motivations or perceptions. Yeah.
Trying to think if we've seen any of that in the other interludes. What was our last interlude? Canary? Oh, yeah, we definitely saw that with Canary, where she was like, I didn't do anything wrong. We were like, well,
Yeah, like I think that like I obviously think the sentence was bad, but I also think that like on second blush, like it can be very easy to first read a chapter like that and be fully on board with Canary, but then be
yeah,
like, "Oh wait, this is a person who intentionally got these powers and then didn't think about it, and then somebody got hurt slash killed. I don't remember. It was unclear to me if
it
he
was
died or
hurt
not.
because they said
Okay, because
attempted murder.
okay. So yeah, it was like this thing happened because she's irresponsible, and all the other like
Mhm.
aspects we talked about at the time that were like could have easily happened or maybe did happen. Um,
Yeah, Vale says that at least we're civilized about it from purity. But that one's more clear to me because of like my own perspective. I think that there's things that are like set in like real world stakes that are like much easier to see the warp in their perspective, but when it's something that it's like this is how the powers work or this is how my powers work and this is how I feel about it, that's like a lot harder to like you
right.
don't have a basis for it, but you'll still end up having like a feeling of whether of like how true or how honest it is.
Like I kind of feel like that Gregor had this kind of stuff as well, where we felt
Oh
like
yeah,
his
with his
perceptions were
lady.
really warped of different like moments where he had this way that he was already seeing the scenario, and
Mhm.
he couldn't um sort of see the other. I don't know. It seemed like he was projecting a lot into every interaction.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Moving on down to Oh yeah. It seems like the trigger visions are like supposed to be forgotten, and then she remembers getting distracted from forgetting.
Yeah. She she like talks about how it's like elusive in a specific way. Like the more she tries to remember it or the more she tries to grasp it, the more it's gonna like evade her. So if you just like don't focus on it more, it's like it seems to be easier to like keep in the back of her head.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the compartmentalization through powers. We've kind of talked about that a lot. Do you have anything more to say about it?
I don't have anything else to say. Just
Okay.
everything we said. She was like, I compartmentalize my stuff into my powers, and I'm not exactly sure how intentional it is. Because if she can access her ability to sleep, um, I guess she can't access her ability to dream though. So maybe it is like totally elusive to her.
Yeah, and the other thing is, yeah, with the whole not sleeping and like this altered dreams, I, without going too far into it, wanted to definitely highlight the fact that parahumans' dreams are often altered, or like powers will have weird effects on dreams, as we'll see in a scenario later in the book. Um, and just, yeah, there's like a weird relationship there. Um,
Yeah. My
mhm.
Vale won't know what I'm talking about, but my secret OC's power
Mhm.
is like all around like dreams and subconscious thinking and stuff. So I'll have to like keep an eye on that more so
Right.
that I don't fuck it up when I write it out.
I would maybe finish Ward before you finalize anything.
Okay, I will try my best.
Yeah. Um. Uh.
Vale said, "Did you play Weaver dice or write your own?" Yeah, we wrote our own, and we're definitely gonna do like a. We'll probably do like maybe even a specific stream to go over them if we want to. But it's also like, if they're like characters based on real events, so I don't know how much I would want to go into it.
Yeah, like when we were writing the characters, I at least from my own perspective, I felt like I was putting a lot of myself into the.
Yeah, it's very, very well. It is like it's not a self-insert; it's like a whole thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It is a,
it's a
but
whole thing.
but if other people want to do it too, it's super fun.
Um. So, do we want to touch on the American military moving her to America to like bolster superpowered people there?
Yeah, it seems like they were like, we need this girl on our side. She's got power gun. But it's also like where the protectorate, I feel like they must have been like already making moves at least, um, in America. So I'm sure like that was like kind of involved.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, I wonder if she never like even thinks like I would have wanted to stay in the UK or like the differences between the UK and America.
No, she doesn't like give a shit about, she just like lets things happen to her. She's like, why would I care about this if this like much bigger thing happened to me? Like she doesn't care about um she doesn't like care about being moved around. She like has no input basically on her like adoptive parents. Her adoptive parents tell her to change her name and she does it, and even notes like, well, I shouldn't complain or I shouldn't care about this, which makes me think that she must care about it to some degree if she even thought about it. Um, and then she Um, I wrote that she joined the wards, but the words she uses are she was enlisted in the wards. That also does not
Feels
sound
pretty
very
right to me.
empowering.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It doesn't
like
sound
they
empowering now.
she is just very much like told what to do and does it. And I don't know if like she's still like that. Like it just seems like she's kind of followed her life path to where she is now. But if something like were to happen or she like wanted to make some sort of choice, I feel like she would probably be at that point now, like as an adult, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We learned a bunch about the Endbringers that I totally skipped over, so we'll talk about it now.
Do you want me to just dramatic read the little section?
Sure. And Vale says if it's open to all, of course it's open to all. We love trauma dumping through worm personas.
Well, see, Vale was talking about like doing a Weaver Dice campaign and stuff, I think, but we were more just writing characters to have like sort of exist in our mind's eye, rather
Yeah,
than
Vale said not to use personal trauma because it never goes well with others' comprehension. Yeah, we probably like wouldn't use those for a Weaver Dice campaign or anything.
yeah,
It's just like a fun personal thing to do. And like we'll kind of do it with like other people we know, and like we build our like little like protectorate team or whatever.
right, right,
It's like LARPing, just like 2 plus 4 times 5 does.
exactly.
Exactly.
Um, Vale says, I get it, write the characters. I did that with one already I'd had in mind. Have others. Yeah, yeah. Um, I'm gonna read the Endbringer's Dealy Bop. Nothing's truly random, Colin explained, his voice tight. I guess I should. Nothing's truly random. Any data shows a pattern eventually, if you dig deep enough. Dragon started work on an early warning system for Endbringers to see if we can't anticipate where they'll strike next, prepare to some degree. We know there's some rules they follow, though we don't know why. They come one at a time, months apart, rarely hitting the same area twice in a short span of time. We know they're drawn to areas where they perceive vulnerability, where they think they can cause the most damage. Nuclear reactors, the birdcage, places recently hit by natural disasters. He clicked the mouse, and the image zoomed in on a section of the coastline. Or ongoing conflict. Hannah finished for him, her eyes widening. The ABB, Empire 88. The fighting here? It's coming here? Now?
Like, why were we talking about my sleeping habits? I feel like he was like running some kind of scans in the background during that conversation, and then like it just popped up. But I think it's more funny to think that like he'd been looking at it and he's like, oh, let's save this one for last.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Um. Yeah, so I guess let's talk about the Endbringers a little more than just reading the blurb. It's clearly going to be the next thing that happens is one of these vaunted Endbringers shows up.
Sure seems like a huge advantage that they are out now able to predict at least by like a couple hours, it seems like, where the Endbringers are going. So like it looks like they keep an eye on places that have like shit going on, and then they like monitor the weather and like the, any kind of like weird things that could be happening because they know they don't say it here, but they know which Endbringer will happen because the Endbringers occur in a specific order that is like very obvious. It's just 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Well, okay,
So
so
like,
I do want to correct this slightly. They don't occur in like the round order like that. They just never repeat themselves, but you could get like Leviathan, Seamerg, Leviathan, for example.
oh really? Okay. Well then, yeah. Either way, they only need to like keep an eye on two different aspects
Aspects.
of it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I'm sure they all like affect the zones differently. I'm sure you can feel the vibes of them coming.
Yeah. Especially
And
if
now
you're a
they actually
parahuman.
can. So that's pretty cool. I guess like before this point, they just didn't know until it's like already happening,
Yes,
or
that is definitely the impression I got.
if somebody like could figure it out with powers or something.
I think there have been a couple times where the thing shows up and it's like Behemoth and he shows up really far away from his target. So he like is walking there, people notice,
Mm,
and then everybody can assemble and fight. But like this is the most real warning they've ever gotten. It's not
that's so funny.
at the destination. And like literally Legend will talk about that in next arc, in like the next week's chapters. He's like,
He's
um,
like, that one went really well because we had 25 minutes notice.
exactly. Well, he doesn't talk about like a specific time previous. He's just talking about how like this is the first time they've had a chance to assemble before. Like normally they just immediately join into the fray.
hmm It's also really impressive that they seemingly targeted the birdcage before, but it seems like they just didn't get through.
Well, they talk
Like,
about how a long time ago they had better defenses against Behemoth, but that
uh-huh.
they've been worn down with time because like important people for like the given defense were killed by other things. Because
Okay.
it's kind of like we talked about earlier, like in a cape fight, it's not just like a power level, it's like what will kill you specifically.
Yeah, exactly. It's just all it's not random. It's just like there's huge advantages and disadvantages for each coupling or group of people.
Yeah, like it could really easily be that like some of the really good capes against Behemoth just were like totally caught off guard by some really speed move by Leviathan or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Anything else about that?
No, just that it's exciting.
It's
Cliffhangers.
exciting. Oh, we're so excited to meet Lisa's old teammate.
Yeah, the
Um,
Endbringers. Oh,
the
also,
Friendbringer.
just I mean, this is more of a stream thing than like a story thing, but we got like a stacked guest list for the next while. For the rest of the year, we have somebody on every week. It's gonna be Greg, Vic, Quinn, David, Quinn, Vic. So
Very nice.
pretty cool. Um,
Um, so the other like big story aspect is we see like a lot of context about the protectorate and like team dynamics. The fact that they have to kind of like trade off people and like work to, I guess, like align their teams with whatever the unpowered higher ups, like the executives, are saying that they need.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
there's like a lot of like weird politics and stuff involved. They're trying to like finagle the system to keep the people that they need. They can't really like trust Pago in that sense. Um, and the other thing is like they're teenagers. Like it's not like relocating like an adult person, you know what I mean? Like their whole family is gonna have to be like relocated. They're probably gonna have to get more jobs because the protectorate, I don't think, sustains like the livelihood of the family or anything because they suck. Like that's what they should be doing, right?
They do talk sometimes about how there'll be like benefits packages to try and convince the families to go, but I don't think they would in an instance like this. I think that they would just try to sell them on the idea without actually, like, they maybe try to ease the transition in some ways, but I think you're
Mhm.
essentially right. Um,
I'm sure that they like help with them getting it, because I do think that they have to work. Most of the parents have to work, but and I'm sure that they like have lots of connections to like get them good jobs and that kind of stuff.
mhm.
Um, and speaking of nepotism,
Oh yeah, the ultimate nepotism baby.
the
They won't
ultimate
move Gallant.
nepotism baby, Mr. Gallant. They're like, we can't move Gallant. He needs to take over his millionaire father's company, and his girlfriend lives here. And I just like think that's so funny in comparison to like Clockblocker's family, like his dad, like currently dying of cancer.
Yeah, or leukemia, but
Um,
yeah.
yeah, like literally any of them, but the like reasons that they give to not move Gallant is just like, oh
He's
guys,
really
They're,
rich.
he's really rich,
His
and it's
superpower
not
is
even
that.
that it's not even that like Dragon and Miss Militia and Colin are being like shady. They know that they won't be able to move him because of this. Like his parents like wouldn't let that happen. I don't think that
They're being
um
realistic.
yeah, and I think that because Glory Girl and Gallant are a couple, they're like fan favorites because people just like love couples, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so like the people would riot if the Protectorate broke up their like favorite celebrity couple, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Gallant is too pretty to move out of town,
We gotta kind of
exactly.
remind, yeah, it's like we talked about in earlier chapters. These guys are still, they are fighting for their lives, but they're also celebrity cops.
They're also celebrity cops, basically sportsmen.
Oh
How
my
dare they break
word,
up my favorite couple?
Quinn's here.
Quinn, you're just in time for the end.
Well, no, Quinn's gonna
Um,
get to see the whole bonus.
oh, okay, sure. Um, that's all I have to say. There's just a lot of like, like stupid like corporate slash government things that we get to see with the like protector and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. We'll see more of that like soon in the story, so we'll talk about it more.
Yeah.
Um, and then just I was gonna quickly do the audience participation. I kind of wanted to do it before the bonus. I thought that was better because this is just gonna be a tiny short thing, and then this will be like pretty fun, and then outro. Um,
Hmm.
so so the thing was to talk a bit about 7.12 and 7.x ending with the same plot beat, and I'm just gonna read the ones from the Discord. We got Vale saying, it's a fantastic idea, or a fantastic lead in to Arc 8. Every part of it is new and scary. Sirens across the city set up as part of the global early warning system. Tattletale looking actually scared and taking on the morbid topic. The immediate response from our local PRT all work together to set the scene perfectly. We still have no real clue what's coming. As a new reader, have some hope that these are viable and worthwhile actions to take in response to whatever this is. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
And then Greg says, hitting the same event twice adds emphasis and tension. It's a slow motion version of a classic cinematic trick. As the character is shoved off the cliff, we see the betrayal 2 or 3 times over from different perspectives. It draws the moment out and builds tension for how our protagonist will react to this radical shift. Same deal here. The repetition tells us this moment is important. The reactions of the characters tell us the situation is dire. You'll have to tune in next arc to see what happens.
We also so another thought I had is that both of those chapters are Colin and Taylor's like current status and team falling apart, which I think that there's a lot of like I think that they have a lot of like parallels in their story a lot of the time. Not even necessarily at the same time, but like they'll like go through similar arcs at like different times in the stories and stuff.
Yeah, they're like really. Despite anything they might think personally, the two of them are very similar people.
Yeah.
So,
Uh very very intense. Just like how Taylor she like needs people on her team to be like hardcore like she is. I feel like they're really similar in that way too.
yeah, yeah. I'm just gonna say the question for next week. It is to discuss Taylor fighting alone in the upcoming battle. This is the first time she's been like alone since arc one. And I know that she's surrounded by other people, but she's alone in terms of like no one is with her.
Yeah. She does not have like a grasp of anybody's powers or anybody's like state of mind or anything. Like she's totally poor Taylor.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Vale says they're both just a little bit mission focused, at least tend toward it slightly. Yep. And now, moving on to the bonus game, I am going to darken the screen for a moment. And then reveal. Um,
Oh, it's a tier list.
oh my
And
god.
I hope that chat participates to their opinions on these relationships.
Yes, yes. Shout along, crowd. So,
Um,
explain the what's happening.
well, because this arc, despite all the other things that happened, had like a big focus on like the relationship between Taylor and like specific members of the Undersiders. She gets a lot of good bonding with Rachel, and we see Tattletale totally screw up her whole thing with Taylor. Taylor totally screw up her whole thing with Brian. I can't remember what happens with Alec. Who cares?
Who cares?
Who cares? But anyways, I thought this would be a good check-in point to like see how their relationships are doing because Taylor's trying to leave. Do you think this team is really like a good fit for her? Like let's see how they do.
Yeah, who
What
can
does the
tell?
top tier mean? Top tier is okay, so the not even parahumans, that's where I want to put in like their relationship has no reminiscence, reminiscence of like the fact that they're capes. Does that make sense, Vale? Like that's just a normal ass dynamic. Like these could be two people who go to high school together.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So how should we go down the list? Just left to right, or should
Yeah,
okay, okay.
let's go
Um,
left to right. So first we've got Grue and Skitter. Also, Taylor is reminiscent focused. Okay. First is Grue and Taylor. This is my amazing fan art. You can't even really see it, but
yeah,
it's
I'm gonna
just
have to post
Grue.
these in the Discord thing.
It's just Grue with a worm, and the worm has kind of crazy curly hair. And as far as it was going, I felt like they were really wholesome originally, right? I felt like things were going really well with them. There was like lots of like cute like flirting, genuine friendship, good
Some touchy
one-on-one time
touchies
together.
on the hands.
Um, they back up each other in like meetings and stuff, but they're also not scared to like disagree with each other. Vale says, speaking of posting in Discord, please post your art. Okay, I'll need to buy Discord Nitro again. I will get to it, Vale, I promise. But then Grue says that she's like his sister, and I feel like that's just like you ruined the whole thing. In my opinion, right now
Oh
they're
my
at
God.
toxic. Like they can't communicate with each other properly. They there's like all these like weird mixed signals going on. I don't think that their relationship is going well at this exact moment.
Yeah.
Oh, and then they had the like big disagreements with their morals and values.
Well, here's the question. Is it toxic, they make it work, or toxic?
I think it's toxic because they didn't make it work. She like left the whole crew. And I think that if Grue had been on her side, like that would have come out differently. I don't think she would have left if Grue was on her side. What do you think?
Um, I agree. I think if Grue was wholesale on her side, she wouldn't have left.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
because I think that Rachel would have just gone with whatever they were saying, and Alec would have been like, I don't agree, but okay, I guess. I
Yeah.
think it would have worked out. But like Grue was like the one who was like, no, dude, I need this. Like, don't fuck this up for me. Quinn said that it'll get better. I have faith in them too. I really hope it works out uh between Taylor and Brian.
Yeah, Quinn
Vale says
really said, I have faith in them. It will get better. Frowny
yeah, he has
face.
faith. He has faith in them. Fully agree. Also, Taylor uses the first kiss to make her enemy jealous. One of the worst things she does in these early arcs. From who is Taylor really perspective? I don't know.
I don't
I
think that's as bad
honestly,
as other people think it is.
I didn't think it was that bad. And also, like, not to bring their age into it, but like she's like 15 and he's like 17, so it's like he's a big boy. He can handle that. Like being used for like jealous reasons or whatever. Um, I think if she had kept it as that, like she hadn't then admitted her feelings, like their relationship would have uh still been doing okay.
I'm just adding some to the doc for later.
Okay,
I'm
so we'll
recording
say
these.
toxic right now.
Okay.
Well, we can always take a picture of it afterwards or
True.
save it or something.
True.
Next is Lisa and Taylor, right?
Yes, Lisa and Taylor. I think they have a good relationship for the most part. They have, I would say that they're maybe wholesome. That's my vote.
Oh, really? Well, I was gonna say toxic, but they make it work because
Okay.
I think that like it could be really bad, but like they just like managed to keep it okay. You know what I mean? Like they both have like, well, one more than the other has one thing kind of like, mm, Lisa tries to influence Taylor a lot more than maybe she should. But
True.
it like all turns out okay, right? I actually
Right?
at this point maybe they're wholesome. What is real thing? The toxicity is their secrets kept from each other. Exactly. It's
Hmm.
like but they also work. It's like okay because of the way they're able to stabilize
The
things.
reason I thought wholesome is because at this point Lisa really uh pulls Taylor up out of a low place.
Hmm. I guess I would probably yeah, he says they make it work, but there is a problem there. I like also agree with that, but I think that that's gonna come a little later. I feel like throughout the book they kind of all move up the scale. I feel like um there's like at a specific point where I'm like, okay, like Lisa got over whatever like hang up she had about Taylor, and like now it's just like an actual genuine friendship that doesn't have an agenda. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Who's
for
this
now,
next?
we've got Taylor and Alec.
Ooh, what do you think?
I think just toxic because like right now, as it stands, uh
They cannot communicate with each other.
they can't communicate with each other, and Taylor actively dislikes the way she's treated by him.
Yeah. She doesn't like the way she's treated by him. We don't really know how Alec feels about Taylor. Um, like from my perspective, he like seems to respect her and stuff, but he like also is unwilling to like give up his like little jabs and teasing and stuff that he does. And he does that with everyone.
I think later it's toxic. They make it work. It's like you said, they all sort of graduate
Yeah, they're all
upward.
gonna move up.
Because I think
Phil says
that
I don't Phil says I don't even think it exists. Yeah, they're a little non-existent right now. There's some of these that I feel like are even more non-existent.
yeah. Well, here is as you can tell by how loving it is, the Taylor Rachel.
Aw, they're so cute together.
Where
Um,
would you say they should be?
what do you think?
I think that they are somewhere. They are at the Lisa like divide of like I know that they will have turbulence later, but I think that they're at the Lisa divide where they're either wholesome or toxic. They make it work.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like they're in the middle. Can you put them in the middle? Does it let you?
Yeah, I can do whatever.
Because I think that like
Block out Lisa.
there's like there's like really good wholesome moments, and then there's moments where like Taylor's like, if you let me do this thing, I'll let you punch me in the face.
Oh, I know what I can do. I can cheat the system. I can change which pog is which. Um, delete image. Delete image.
The new
You.
tier, toxic, they make it wholesome. Yeah, maybe that would have been a Rachel finally likes Taylor enough to provide relationship advice. If only Taylor had listened instead of jealousy kissing things would have gone perfect. Yeah, exactly. If
Instead
Taylor
of
would have,
jealously kissing, she should have just said, "Let's fuck."
yeah, should just be like, just so you know, I'm always around.
I live
He'd be
here.
like, what the fuck are you talking about? I just like can't even imagine Brian's reaction to that.
I think
Um,
he'd be like, "Oh, okay. I don't know. This is a problem that we suddenly like." I think that he would just be like,
I think he would
not.
be like upset
Yeah,
too, because he's like, wow, like I've been trying really hard to be like friends and show you that I care, and like you just treat me like like a piece of meat.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, poor Brian.
Um,
Um, yeah, I think they're almost there. I'm trying to think if there's a cusp at which Rachel and Taylor are like just perfect.
definitely later, but not for a while. That's right. This the true spoiler is that they're friends.
No, they're friends. Vale said, "Can you imagine Lisa's face when she walks in the room, reads everyone, and realizes what happened?" She's like, "Rachel, I told you to stop telling people to do that." um, okay, so next we have Lisa and Brian.
I think toxic. They make it work.
Toxic. Okay,
Oh, you
yeah.
think just toxic?
I think they can make it work. They're making it work right now. And like they're butting heads a lot less than it seems like they have in the past. Like when Taylor enters the group, it seems like things have been really shaky between Tattletale and Brian, but that like Taylor entering the group has really like evened things out.
And by the way, we're not gonna like evenly distribute, or we're not gonna like have to use all 5 tiers, because we're gonna be
Yeah, yeah,
using
yeah.
this relationship toxicity tier list more than just the once.
Yeah, and I think we can use it for different groups and stuff
Yeah.
once we get to that.
There will be some most toxics later.
Don't worry. We'll get to
Um,
that point. It's just that the Undersiders are such a well-adjusted group.
yeah, for parahumans.
Like literally compared to everyone else, they're doing such a good job.
Yeah. Um, then we've got Alec, Brian. I think toxic, but they
They're
make it
just
work because he still does like Alec is pulling shit like knocking him over with his power. Like casual use of powers on somebody is like
I guess I was gonna say they act like they're
shitty.
not even parahumans, in my opinion. Like
Okay,
they're
well,
just like, and that's like why they like use their powers on each other because to them it's like not, it's just like them roughhousing or whatever.
hmm, okay,
And
I
that's
could
not to
see
say that
that.
they're better than everyone else. I think that it's fitting that the not even parahumans is just blue, instead of like green.
Okay, what do you want me to move them to not even parahumans?
I want to see what Vale thinks.
Because see, my main thing is just that like I think of Brian later describing their dynamic, like between him and Alec as like he makes things toxic in little ways to the point where you can't even deal with him, and he's really talking about him
Mm.
from like the era previous to when Taylor was a part of the crew, but still,
Yeah, I guess I was thinking of things more from Alex's point of view, where he's like, I'm sort of friends with Brian. I like to play video games with him.
yeah, yeah. And I was thinking of like the way it kind of is from the outside, from like Brian's perspective.
Okay, okay. I don't know if they make it work.
Toxic. They
Toxic.
kind of do. They at least make it work enough so that
Whoa, there's girls chatting. Oh my gosh.
I'm
I'm
wondering
popping
if
in
Greg's
here.
still here. Um,
The girls are looking for Greg.
no, he's Greg's the band hammer.
Yeah, I
Um,
know.
uh, so we'll go with toxic. The
Okay.
reason I wanted, well, okay, I'm gonna tell you my reasoning on toxic, but they make it work. And the toxic,
Okay.
but they make it work. Justification is that, um, they were able to convince Taylor with their little roughhousing performance that they don't really want to beat each other up.
True, that's true. They are just like, I feel like they're just like toxic in the way that like men are toxic with each other.
Yes.
Which is like, I don't know. Alec is confusing because he doesn't even like have man brain. He's just like really insane, but like it comes off as man brain until you learn like what's actually wrong with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, which is like that's, I don't know. I don't know if it's a spoiler to say what's wrong with Alec. I feel like it kind of is because I think it took us both off guard.
Yeah.
And I think it's supposed to. Like it's supposed to be shocking to everyone and it's like especially shocking to Taylor and I think Aisha like gets really really angry about it.
Yeah.
Um yeah, I think Regent relationships are all toxic, but make it work with an implied threat from Regent that it'll turn toxic if he's pushed. Yeah, I
That's
don't
yeah.
know. He seems to, s- I don't know. Alex seems to care about people in a different way than they care about him, where he like actively puts effort into his caring.
Yeah.
And
I
I don't think that other people are putting effort into caring about him at all.
yeah. I was trying to think on this next one if it I want to just put it in toxic
Okay.
cuz there's that time when for instance that Brian beats up Rachel in an alley.
Honestly, I think I want them at most toxic at the moment.
Okay.
because he does beat up Rachel in an alleyway, and this is like a repeated event. Um,
Yeah,
he
he
he does it at the
also.
beginning of, yeah, like right when Rachel attacks Taylor, he beats her up, and then he does it in an alleyway when there's no physical threat.
Yeah, it's like in
Um,
2 and 5, and I feel like there might have even been another time since then that I'm just not even remembering.
yeah, and the first time that we see it, he literally tells us that this is a repeated event.
Hmm.
Um, and Rachel, like, although she sees him as leader, like it is in like a really unhealthy way where like she does not want him to be like her authority, but like it just has to be that way. So I don't know. I don't think it feels good for either of them.
Yeah, yeah. I think we're in agreement. And then
Who
we
do we
go
got
with
here? Some straight-haired Taylor. You know, there is so much
you say straight-haired
Taylor
Taylor,
art.
but this is literally Lisa.
Oh, is it? Okay, I couldn't see. Sorry.
So, the Lisa Alec relationship is practically wholesome,
Yeah.
but it would cover up.
No, it's okay. You can just kind of put it on the right or something.
It's not like there's going to be other
Um,
wholesome ones.
oh, I hope so.
Wink.
Wink, wink.
Well, we can see when we get there. Um,
Lisa shall now be known as straight-haired Taylor. She is straight-haired Taylor. That's the only difference between them, really.
so straight-haired Taylor and Alec are. I don't think there's anything really wrong between them. We'll
Think
just.
there's anything really wrong. I think it really helps that Lisa understands him in a way that I don't think any of the others do at this point.
Yeah.
Um, actually, I don't know if they ever get to a point where they understand him. We'll have to like keep an eye on that. I guess I'm projecting because like our as readers we do. We're actually going to learn about it in the a little bit more in the Lisa arc.
Yeah.
Not arc, but interlude that's coming up.
We see it a little bit, and then we learn a lot more a little later. But uh,
But yeah, I don't think that they really get on each other's nerves that much, and I think it's cute that they do bets against each other, even though obviously Lisa's going to win.
they're wholesome because they do the bets. Like essentially, when they were like living together pre Taylor, like those two lived together and like they lived with Rachel, but like the interactions were between them, and they
Hmm.
seemed to like they were together when Taylor was with um Rachel and Brian in Arc 7. Like they were together waiting at the loft, and like they were just kind of hanging out, and like that's just normal for them.
That's funny, yeah.
So
It just is, I guess it's like we don't really see them together too much. I just wonder what they do together.
yeah.
I don't know
I
if
mean
they
they
have a
both
lot of the
talk a
same
lot of shit,
interests.
so
Yeah, that's true. Maybe they have like big tea sessions.
okay, so now
Like,
we
did you see what Taylor was wearing yesterday? Oh my God. It's almost like she's really insecure. I wonder if her dad abuses her. Which, like, we do know that they did talk about. Lisa, due to her power, knows how to get under enemies' skin. She also knows how to influence friendship. Yeah, Lisa knows how to do the opposite of getting under someone's skin, which is like getting under their skin in a good way.
um so this is the Rachel Lisa, and I put it in the toxic they make it work section until we decide otherwise. I think that's fair. They there's definitely like a major power imbalance between them because of the way Lisa
Mhm.
knows how Rachel thinks, and even Rachel doesn't know how Rachel thinks. So
Yeah, that's true. And she's like, we can't tell Rachel because it'll ruin her life. And I don't know if I agree with that because Rachel already knows that something's wrong. She just like doesn't exactly know like what to do about it.
hmm
I think it would make her angry, but I think then like maybe she could actually like cope with her problems.
I think. Lisa is in some ways very risk averse,
Mm-hmm.
so she's not willing to try that. And it sounds
Yeah.
silly because it's like tattletale, risk averse, but it's just like
Well,
in this way
she's
with
yeah, in this
relationships.
way. I think that she has her singular focus, which is Taylor right now, and she's not really going to juggle those other things that don't need to be.
Right, yeah.
Um, Bill says Lisa still can't really influence Rachel. She tries to talk to her and is stymied. Yeah, she like I don't know. She like knows what's wrong with her, but she still can't like get past it. It's like the same way that Lisa, we haven't really seen this yet, but there's like a lot of time where Lisa will do something that she thinks is an obvious cue to somebody. And Taylor, who I think is really good at picking up on like nonverbal cues, like when people are gesturing to her, she's like, "What the fuck is that?" Like Lisa will just start like gesturing with her hands, and Taylor like has no idea what she's doing.
Yeah.
I think it's that thing where like Lisa sometimes can't like dumb down her like power and like can't see how other people are like perceiving things differently from her.
Hmm. Yeah.
I think
Um
it's funny every time she does that. And Taylor's
yeah,
like,
I'm
"What?"
I'm thinking of like a really funny like failure of communication that I cannot mention because you haven't read it yet.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. All
Um
right.
so moving on though to uh Alec
Alec
and
and Rachel.
Rachel. Uh,
I don't even know. It's like they like have not interacted at all in the book.
no dynamic. Toxic but they make it
No,
work.
thinking out of not even parahumans. They're just like in the same class together. They're
They're
just not.
uh, the one
That's
thing
so.
I
I'm
was
trying. I'm trying to think of any specific interactions that have happened between
it's
them.
like Alec will be like I want in on the bank robbery and then she's like well if or whatever that the gallery
Like if the
heist and then
twink
he's
is
like
doing it, then
yeah
so do
exactly
I.
well she says if the runt is doing it you just want her
I
to
know.
say the twink
No, but I think that's way funnier if she says if the twink is doing it.
if
Before the
the
bank
twink's
robbery,
making
yeah.
out with her I guess I have to too.
I guess I have to too. Yeah. They're just like
Wholesome.
normal. Yeah, they can be wholesome. How about wholesome until proven guilty?
Okay, wholesome until proven guilty. I feel like not even parahuman has to be like a special rating that we like hold in reserve. These guys
Oh, okay.
both definitely have like they're like weirdo parahuman types. There are some relationships where it's like seems not even parahuman, but these guys are still definitely just two weirdos interacting.
Yeah,
And I don't mean like on a regular scale. I mean like
not on a
parahuman.
regular scale.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
They
then
like
we
they just don't even interact.
so this the audience might be thinking what's happening? That's all 10
What is this
pairings.
one?
What could be here? Well, this is a fantasy draft pick. What if Amy and Taylor were on a date in Victoria's
This
mind?
is this is my favorite ship. Is Amy Taylor, and I want to put them in wholesome. Obviously. Are they not even parahumans?
No, I think wholesome is probably appropriate. I think not even
Um,
parahumans is too
and I
much.
just want to put them here because I feel it's like why? I just want to put them here because it's like I'm what's it called? I'm manifesting it. Um, I
It's
thought
it's
it
on it's on Vic's dream board right now.
what kind of date is it? Well, right now, Taylor's holding a knife to Amy's throat.
I think if they were to go on a date right now, they'd probably like hold hands a little bit. They'd watch a movie. They'd like go to a bookstore. They'd like think about kissing each other and get way too embarrassed, and then they
Yeah,
wouldn't
they'd be
kiss.
like way too embarrassed. But I feel like they might like end up cuddling or something and that would be nice.
Yeah,
And then they get married and fall in love and then nothing bad ever happens. Amy never does anything bad ever.
Yeah.
And Taylor won't do anything bad either because she's too busy being in love. It actually solves all the problems in the book, and then they can just end the book.
It's really interesting how they win through the power of love. So yeah.
They went through the power. It was the girlfriends were the friends we made along the way. Exactly.
Exactly.
I just wanted to add them in. This is like a little taste of the obviously the not current relationship, the shipping toxicity tier level list that we will do in the future.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot more stuff we want to do, but it's been difficult up to now because of how few characters are introduced and how little of the book we could talk about.
Yeah, a lot of the activities we want to do are so character based because like obviously that's what we're invested in. So it's hard to like I don't know. I want to do all these rankings. I want to do like maybe some like fan fiction reading and and shipping rankings and all that kind of stuff. Neither of them have mental breakdowns at all, and they grow old and strong together, except for the cloning incident. Okay. Um, they're also so good together with their powers. I'll just say that. Like I love Taylor and Amy's power synergy that they can have.
Yeah. I'm gonna briefly switch us back to the other image before we go, but we are on sort of the out swing. There is a full art bibliography for the little things that I used for those tiles in the description of this stream, and the last tile was just a chapter art, so I didn't write that in the bibliography. Excuse me.
I Veil. Oh, bless you.
Yes, I wasn't sure if that would be heard if I sneezed completely the other direction, but you know. Bye, Vale.
I Veil.
We are essentially done, but I am gonna turn on the outro song. Is there anything else that you wanted to say as we go?
Nope. When will we be back for the next interlude? That's just in a couple weeks, right?
Yes. So next week is going to be 8.1 and 8.2, but you and I will be back for 8.x, the Lisa interlude on December 3rd, the day after the Christmas party.
Woo! That can be our activity as we just talk about the Christmas party.
Oh yeah, and last week, if I seemed low energy, that was because it was the day after my birthday, and we had gone kind of we had done
Day
a lot.
Drinking.
We had done a lot of day drinking.
Yeah, it was worth it for the even if you had some low energy moments.
Oh, it was a very good time. It was a good birthday. But yes, anyway, I didn't start the music, but now I have started our little outro, and I'm gonna read our goodbye links and say goodbye to all our friends, not just Vale, but 2 + 4 × 5, Greg and Quinn. So the story, as always, was written by Wildbow, who can be supported at patreon.com/wildbow. Full text of the work is available at parahumans.wordpress.com. The fan-made audiobook of the entire work is at audioworm.rain-online.org. Discord server link can be found in the video description, or stream description, as well as the channel description. And this is going to be the final time we hear Born in a Broken World from CO.AG music on their documentary music playlist. We'll have to see what comes next for Arcade's music. I have not picked it yet, but sure it'll be crazy.
Spooky.
Something spooky. Any final word before I stop the stream?
Goodbye.
Goodbye.